De Barrio para el mundo. Ha! Straight out of Barrio Antioquia. Aquí estamos con the one and only Kristoffer Liicht. And we spent a lot of days here and gathered a lot of impressions. What is in your mind right now when you're just on this field and reminiscing a bit of what happened over the last week?
Yeah, for the people who might not be watching video right now and might be confused as to what Jovan is referring to, we are sitting mid-pitch in the cancha of the Torneo Del Barrio, so the main street football court of Medellin, Colombia, where the biggest street footballing tournament goes on, a 4-month-long tournament where 36 of the best teams that Medellin has to offer battle head-to-head in a daily league. So one of the most insane street footballing experiences I've ever had personally in my life, and something that I recommend any street football fan, if they ever have the opportunity to come to Medellin, to come check it out and come feel the vibe, meet the stars, and be part of the movement that's going on here, because it's pretty amazing. And if listen, if I'm falling over my words and stuff, it's because it is midnight now. This is our last night. We of course are choosing to do this right before I leave back to Denmark. But that's also because we've had a lot of time to reflect over what has happened, and yeah, we gotta use time wisely. And that time has been spent mostly playing street football, which I would say is wise. So, yeah.
100%. So, back to my question.
Oh, was that? I felt like I was okay. Fair.
But thanks for introducing.
Yeah,
It makes a
cool.
lot of sense. Like, what do you have spontaneously in your mind right now when you think about this pitch that is usually completely full, and now we're almost the only ones here?
That's a very open-ended question. I mean, I feel very grateful for having experienced this. I think often, we see things online, and it already looks amazing online. Seeing like there's between 200 and 1,000 people coming to the court every day watching the games. And just an hour before, this court was filled with at least a couple of hundred people around. And the vibe is just special. So I feel very grateful to have experienced it. Right now, I'm sitting in one of the team's jerseys that was gifted from one of the star players playing here in the tournament. So yeah, I think what I'm feeling the most right now is just gratefulness for having been able to be a little part of the history that's going down here in Medellin on the opposite side of the world. One of the reasons that we're here is that ISFA has collected street football enthusiasts from around the world and actually gathered them in a place to come together and network and get to know each other better and grow street football overall. And it's quite amazing that we could do this in South America, of all places, because such stuff has usually happened in Europe, right? So it's been, it's been a fantastic experience, and overall I'm just feeling grateful, I think.
Like to hear that. One thing that I realized today while observing the last couple of games was if you look at each player on the field and outside of the field, you can really see that they're 100% in. They really give everything. I mean, obviously, some Europeans would say, this playing style might be a bit too rough. Maybe here and there, yes, definitely. But what I love, there's not somebody like, making a small break during the game. Like, they really give everything. And this is something that actually, you could basically tell that about everybody who is involved in the whole movement here. Like, who is basically productive, producing stuff in any kind of way. They're like really into it. It's not like that they do things half-heartedly or something. They're wholeheartedly in it. And I don't know. I'm just simply impressed because sometimes I'm used to see different stuff in the street football world,
Yeah.
regardless of how high the level is.
Yeah, there's definitely like an intensity that's not seen in many other places. So that's one of the great things about street football is that you can find so many different variations depending on the context that you're in. The way that they play here is it's a 5v5 game, goalies on each side, but like the game is built to be in constant action. So there's like no break, and players have to give 100% to succeed in this game. Like from the get-go, when you have the ball on your side, I think you have like 4 or 5 seconds to get it on the other side of the court. So you can't like waste time. You can't pass from the back. You can't like just hold the ball and do some moves. It's straight action on the goal. If the ball goes out, people throw it in. They probably throw it in because they don't want people to stall the time again by standing in front of the ball. So it's just constant action, and that intensity builds, and it's wildly entertaining. I felt really sad here an hour ago because I realized, this is gonna be my last match that I'm watching.
Well, maybe for this week.
for this
We're
week.
definitely gonna come back. Maybe for everybody who's listening and watching, you gotta imagine that what we have here doesn't exist anywhere else. And I would like to have something like this in Austria, in Europe, in Denmark, but I do believe it's hard to implement. Do you believe it's possible to create something like that, such a movement with such high quality players, such a beautiful ecosystem that kind of organically evolved? Or is that almost impossible in Europe?
Yeah, that's a really hard question. I think I'm not sure that is possible. You know, just like so I come from Denmark, and you know one thing that I noticed traveling here in Medellin is there's like a street football court on every corner almost, and there are kids playing on the street football court in every corner. So there's also like a massive culture around playing on the streets. I think in Europe, unfortunately, at least in Northern Europe where I'm from, you know, with the new age time that we're living in, with the, you know, all these different types of how do you say, like, you know, there's social media, there's all kinds of like experiences you can have. There's like you can go out your door and like try something new every day almost. So like the way you meet your friends in Denmark is no longer at the court as it might have used to be. So like the culture isn't as organic like that. It's very much dependent on people who are really into it and creating something for the given people that want to play. So like whether it's possible in the sense that it happens here, I don't think so. But I do think we can take a lot of learnings from some of the things that they do here in South America and bring it over to Europe. We're gonna have to because it's special, you know.
What is one of the major learnings we can take away?
Yeah, I think one of the great things that they're doing here is they're really great at highlighting their superstars. So you know, there's a couple of players out here. You know, Julian that I'm wearing his shirt. There's Pablo Sierra. You're wearing his shirt. I think the one of the biggest stars here is Alexander 00. So you know, and it seems like that these guys are like you know, notorious, and people come to watch them perform for their team as well. And it's crazy because the players also live up to their names. They go in there with no fear, with no pressure, and they really play with you know, yoga bonito, just showing their skills and their styles. And I think they're really good at highlighting these profiles. I mean, the Torneo here has had a partnership with something called Futto, and they are basically like filming every single game and creating highlights and putting them on social media. And they are definitely pushing like specific stars more than others, but also because these stars are creating these moments, you know. And that ecosystem is really great. Today we were in a really poor area, watching one of our friends' foundation, Niños del Futuro, I think it's called.
Exactly. Yeah.
Giving out kicks for kids, you know, and we even asked these kids if they knew Alexander 00, and they all did, you know. Yeah. Like, so he's a hero of the streets, you know. So like creating those stars, I think it comes a long way. We've had success with it in Denmark, you know, within the Panna culture. There's some massive stars within some of the young players that we have, mainly created in a different way, not actually on the streets, but through mainstream media such as TV shows and other things. But that has allowed for more people to access the culture because they experience it, they get a feel of it, and you know, then they start to take their first steps, and you know, that's how we can start to grow. So that's one of the things I would definitely take away from here.
What I like that you just mentioned, like that they really live up to their names, like stepping into the field without fear. When we went to this pitch, our good friend Janis from Belgium asked Julian if he's nervous or if he has any kind of fear before he goes onto the pitch. Funny thing is, Julian didn't understand the question. It was like really like, he was like, why should I have fear? Not really like kind of to be arrogant or something. He really didn't understand the question, and that was beautiful. The players that you know in Denmark, in Europe, basically you're more involved in street football than I am. You're nearer to the roots than I am, let's say like this. Do you know people in Europe that are like this, that really live up to their names and always step without fear onto the pitch?
Yeah, I think most of the players that are well known in street football are the same way. I think that's the thing that you learn as you grow with street football. So there's some Panna matches going on behind us. I think one of the things that you learn as you grow as a street football player is that if you show fear on the court, and this is on any court, whether that be in a Panna court or in a 3v3 game or 5v5 game. Anytime you show fear, the better opponent will. I'm sorry, we're seeing Pannas here on the left and right, so it's hard not to react when you hear the kids shout loud. But my point is, if you come into a game and you actually show fear, your opponent will be able to smell that on you, and you've already lost a battle, because a street football game is not just in the feet; it's also in the head. You really gotta remain calm and have confidence in yourself. If you just show a little bit of fear, the opponent that understands that will eat you up. So I think it's great that Julian doesn't even understand the question. Like, that's not even like a thing for him. But that just goes to show that it's pretty right what I'm saying.
Hola, buenas. For those who are not watching it, there is a guy just passing by. But however, I like how dynamic in general the whole environment is when we're recording something. There's always something going on, some kids here, there screaming and on. Just hopefully this guy will not shoot this ball onto us. 3, 2, 1. I'm actually worried. No, however, what I was realizing over the last couple of days while witnessing this whole magical spectacle here was that I really felt some excitement about the game that I didn't feel for a long time. While not being involved in it, simply watching, maybe it was back in the days when, I don't know, World Cup 2006 was for me like pretty sick. And then afterwards, I don't know, my interest kind of decreased. The same thing with Champions League and so on. But this kind of reignited the fire as a watcher, basically as a consumer. And it was pretty beautiful. Leads me to a question that you heard once from Josh. How can we make football as beautiful to watch as it's beautiful to play?
I mean, it was a big question for that reason, right? That it's hard to answer. I think in order to answer that question, we need to speak with people that are already watching street football, and what are the things that they take from it? Why are they so in love with the game? And then we also have to speak to people that maybe know about street football and ask them why. What will make them watch it more? I think it's really, we can sit here and be street football experts, but when it's about watching the game, we want to make it as accessible as possible, and that means that we have to go out there and ask people. From a personal view, I think it comes back to what I just talked about before. It is there is a lot to do with the superstars. There's a lot to do with rivalries. I think when we came here the first day and watched Torneo Del Barrio, the first match, it was great. There was there was a lot of intensity, and it was really awesome to watch the games because all players are really good. All players have a high level. There's not one that's like, oh, he's a bit off. They're all good. But what happened was on the second day, there was this top match, or at least a match between two really well-known teams with really well-known players, Krisma versus Futto. And it was just, this match just got like 10 times more exciting, I can't lie. And that's because suddenly, you knew some of the players, and you knew there was like something up for grabs more than just points in the league, because there was some kind of rivalry between these two teams, So that personally made it more exciting for me to watch in that moment. And I think that's definitely like something that'll make it more exciting for others. Some kind of stakes, whether that be the people or what's being played for or where it's been played at or so forth.
Totally agree. You have to highlight the real human being behind the player. You have to present him more and more and more so that people can actually grasp him more and more. Since you're Panna legend, living legend, and you're mainly involved into the whole development of the movement, how did you maintain that people who are watching the Panna games are really aware of who these people are, who Jacob is, who Gypsy is, who Emin is? Did you actually actively contribute to that, or was it something that organically simply developed out of itself?
Yeah, no, I don't think we've been doing a good enough job of doing that, to be honest. I think from a media side point, like, we haven't pushed Panna as big as the potential could have been. I think we've been very community focused, which also has its pros, because what that has done is it's created a foundation of really like hardcore lovers of the game that's kind of like sticking with Panna culture and going to support it for the rest of their lives, because it's like made such a change for them, you know. And this is both on a local level, on a national level, but also on an international level. You know, because I talk with some of the South American guys, and they ask me like how the hell did you actually go from just being a couple of boys to suddenly having a huge community, not just in Denmark, but people following you guys from all around the world. And I said, it's not like we had a plan from the get-go, you know. We were just passionate. We loved doing skills. We loved playing with each other. We had this common passion, and we decided that if we wanted to do this, we needed to get more on board. And then from then on, it's just discipline and consistency. You know, our culture is built on a daily open session, basically. Every Wednesday, you can come and train with Pannahouse, some of the best street football players in the world, for free. No matter how old you are, where you're from, how you look, what level you're at, you can come and you can train. And the training is not like, oh, you meet at 5, if you come 5 minutes late, you're going to do this and that, or we're going to run 5. It's not like that. It's an open session where it's about the more you give, the more you get. And on top of that, you know, a tight-knit community has built, and from there we build other projects, such as the championships or the TV series or other smaller or bigger projects, which has in turn suddenly created this community around us, and also made these, you know, stars that we have, at least, that people kind of follow. So it's not like there was a set plan. It's like the small steps, and then when you look over your shoulder, a lot has suddenly happened. But it's due to consistency and discipline, I'd say. Yeah.
I do believe that, not just concerning Panna, but concerning street football in general, the whole progress of it, that you're true mastermind when it comes to it, like to, you know, setting certain milestones that we should achieve and so on, because you do think outside of the box. Is there something out of your experience that you could recommend Torneo Del Barrio to implement? Because what I believe, what I'm saying mastermind is, I don't know any kind of other community that was focusing on the youth so well like you did with Pannahouse.
Yeah, I like. I mean, I think we've already had some conversations about this. Thinking back, you know, when I'm out here, one of the things I was very impressed by with the Torneo is that they have female judges. I think that's amazing. I don't think you can see a lot of street football tournaments where there's actually female judges, and it's completely normal. They respect them on the same level, you know, and that's great to see. But on the same time, I'm surprised, where are the female players, you know? I think it's important to, you know, the females are half of our population, so they should have the same stage to play on as well. And I'm sure they can make even just the same type of show and have their own stars. And I think they should do it with the youth as well. I think street football is such a beautiful thing, because it really like speaks to such a diverse set of people, whether that be in age or in gender, or even like in, socioeconomic background, and having more space for diversity, I think would do that would do the Torneo really well, you know.
For me, a personal how to say, or my favorite add-on on all these tournaments or league games, let's say like this, that was not even connected to it, like in an organized way, was something that developed always, and it was you standing with people, like basically in a circle and doing some Panna shows, let's say like this, or Pannaing them together with Fatih, together with other people and so on. And I don't know, man. I really love this over the last couple of days, because you can really saw, like, you could really see that also top players were like really eager, you know, to participate, eager to play against you, with you, and so on. And this was something that I do believe that they're gonna, you know, maybe implement. Maybe somebody's gonna focus more and more. Maybe there's a second Licht gonna, arise in Medellin. However, what I actually wanted to ask was, I remember one moment pretty well when we went to Bello, the barrio of Pablo Sierra, to play there, and basically all the people there saw you for the first time. And I'm sitting there, and, you know, people ask me, who is this guy, and so on. And at one point you were just telling me, like, don't tell them that I'm a Panna player and so on, because I want them to get surprised. Is why do you want that? Like,
No. I think we were mostly joking. It's because Pablo kept trying to like dribble me, right? And I think as a Panna player, you have like your defensive skills actually become quite good because you understand movements to a level that's I mean you're constantly in one-on-one situations, so your defensive skills obviously get higher, you know. And I don't think in that moment he managed to dribble me, right? And you were telling him you were telling him, hey, this guy's not easy to dribble, you know. And I was like, you know, just let him kill, you know, because yeah. So there's no other reason. We were just having fun with it, you know. And yeah, he's a really good player, and I'm sure that if he was trying a little bit harder, he probably would have gone past me, you know. We were just playing for fun in the end of it.
I mean, you're both. What does it mean, both? You're Panna player, you're street player, but Panna player, in my opinion, is already a street player, right?
Agree. Yeah.
Still, because you were really into one-on-one, and you play definitely more one-on-one things than free-on-free, right? Or am I wrong?
You can. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, I'm definitely like you know, I've as a you know, my street football path was quite different than most other people because I didn't really have a traditional like football background. It wasn't like football wasn't like my main thing in my life until I was 15 years old. And even then, when I found street football, I was very much alone with it, you know. So it was very much practicing by myself, and you don't really get better by practicing by yourself. You just touch the ball in different ways. And then my game kind of like evolved into being very strange because I had no I didn't really have this football framework to work from, so it was kind of like it was a blank canvas, you know. And then at the same time, I met these amazing street footballers from Copenhagen that kind of like helped me build my game. But obviously, because I'd been doing all this 1v1, that's always been like my main thing, you know, what I'm definitely strongest at. Yeah. The more I always say, the more people that get on the pitch, the worse I get, you know.
But to be honest, when I observed you over the last couple of weeks, I could see, man, that like Pablo in that case, dribbling past you, not the easiest thing or not easy at all. And when you get one-on-one with somebody, you know, they do struggle because you are fluid with the ball. Is there something that a Panna player, or yeah, is there any benefits to being a Panna player in a free game?
Oh yeah, and I think, you know, if you just look at Pannahouses in general, like the Pannahouse team in 3v3 does really well, and and the reason for that is the top players in Pannahouse are really good Panna players, and they're really good you know, football players as well, you know, so they can do both the passing, but they also have that special moment of like some creativity, or they can instill that fear in the opponent that they, you know, that we talked about, that you don't want to show, because suddenly there is this fear of, oh, this guy might do something special, something I haven't seen before. And you know, when you apply that, you just get you get that extra space, and you get that extra time, you know, to do it. I think that also applies here in the Torneo Del Barrio. I mean, the top superstar players, they get a little bit extra space because people have that little fear because they know they can do that special moment, and giving them that extra space allows them to do that special moment. So it's kind of like a, you know, like a back and forth in that sense. But yeah, so I think Panna definitely helps like your game in 3v3, 4v4, 5v5, etc. Even on 11-11, you know, we've had players come through and play Panna that are doing really well in 11s right now. You know, big talents, and it's helped their technical skill because they've become so good at one-on-one situations.
When it comes to Panna itself, would you say that you're still in the beginning, or where is Panna right now in its development as a sport?
Panna is a really new sport. You know, like street football in general is maybe the oldest and probably the most played sport in the world, unofficially.
Yes.
You know, but Panna as a sport is very new. You know, it arrived in the early 2000s through like, if you don't know the story, through like a Nike marketing campaign with some Dutch top players and street footballers that created this game from the streets, where, you know, those players that maybe didn't have the resources to play the game that they love, football, so they kind of just did it on their backyard. And if you don't have no one else to play with, maybe just your friend, then putting it through the legs is the best thing you can do, right? Nike picked up on that and made a game called Panna Knockout. You play 3 minutes, put it through the legs, game is over. that kind of died after 5 years because that's how companies work with marketing cycles. Then some social organizations started to pick it up, and it kind of went up and down. But then social media happened, and people from around the world could kind of see it, and then it's been building from then on. And then we in Denmark have especially taken it upon us to like try and build the culture through, through some media things, but especially through a worldwide tournament every year. And that's been going on for now 10 years, which kind of also does create like, it's kind of become stalemate in a way. So the tournament every year is definitely evolving. It's becoming bigger. There's more players. There's more eyes. The venue itself is greater. There's more people that come. Now there's not even space around the field anymore. We need like a big screen for more people to watch on the side and stuff. So the event itself is becoming huge. But on the same time, we're definitely at a place where, damn, what about all these players that are here in South America that wanna play in there, and they maybe they don't have the opportunity to go to Denmark every single year to play, right? So we're definitely at a point where we need to like have some more structure in the game and some more possibilities of being able to qualify for the World Finals, and hopefully have the World Finals not just be in Copenhagen every year in my backyard, even though that's great. So it's at a point where it's kind of matured for what it is now, but the potential is so massive that I have no doubt that we are still in the beginning, as you said. Yeah, if that's an answer enough.
It is definitely. I love that it's really intertwined with any different art of street football, being it 3-3, 4v4, 5v5, whatever, because you see it basically in every game. Obviously, like with the official rules, 3 minutes and, in a circle and on. Obviously, this can vary from country to country and then. But I do believe also that it's still in the beginning, and for me personally, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Simply witnessing something like originating like from the early stages is.
And one thing that makes it really different from other forms of street football is that it's actually easily accessible for anyone, even people who don't play football. It's hard to get people into 3v3 and 5v5 street football if they're not football players, because suddenly you're part of a team. And it's hard to be in a team with someone who doesn't have football experience in general. But in 1v1, it's a little type of different game where you can kind of find your own paths, and in the end you kind of rely on yourself. So you can start later, and you can start with no footballing background, and you can pretty much get in the court from day one and have a success time. You might get like bullied in the court, but that's also a success, because that's one step towards getting better. I think that's much harder to just get going with 3v3 or 5v5 football than just jumping in there for yourself. So
When you started with 15, 16-ish, did you get bullied in the beginning by
somebody?
somebody?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to give this guy another shout out. Of course, my idol and my inspiration in street football is a guy called Michael Toft. He was the first Panna player in Denmark, and I saw him at the street footballing tournament. He did give me about 40 Pannas on like one day. So yeah, I got smoked, but it was also that moment that like lit this fire in me that's been burning ever since, and the same fire that I like really try to ignite in others, because I do believe that people's journeys within our culture are often dependent on like one moment that happened to them where they're like, oh my god, this is awesome, I need to figure out what can I learn more and what can I do in this. And as soon as you enter that rabbit hole, it's yeah, we got you.
But then when you get basically smoked by this guy, did you soon start to smoke other people, or was it like a long stage until you were able to smoke people?
I think I thought I was smoking people, maybe like more something like that. I mean, I have some old videos of myself that it's not particularly pretty, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I could, it's quite easy to get started, and you can start to panna some people. It's in the end it's you sometimes you just need some luck. You can, and other times it's of course you need hard work along the way as well. But yeah, there's not a long way to success. There's really not. And I see that as well with, we have kids of all ages and of all levels, and yeah, they Panna each other constantly. Yeah.
I believe because now I basically I saw you now for the second time in real
Mhm.
life, and what I do notice is your self-confidence.
Mhm.
You're not an insecure guy. What I really like about you. Um, do you believe that Panna itself was the major contributor to that self-confidence that you have?
No, no, probably not. I wish that was the truth. I've always had some weird confidence around myself. I thought I was a, you know, I when I tell the story about my background within street football, I tell people I wasn't a football player. It's not 100% true because I did play football. I just lived in a very small town with 600 people or 800 people or whatever it was. So the footballing we had there was, obviously there's not a lot of kids at my age, so that means that the level is going to be very, very low. And especially when you just play 1 or 2 hours a week and then you play computer for the rest of the time, the level is going to be low. But in my mind, I was the most amazing football player, right?
In this town.
In my yeah, in my mind, I was amazing, but I quite quickly found out that I was not a very good football player. I mean, even Sufjan Bengkok, legend of the game, said that the first time he met me, I had two left feet. I'm right-footed, so you can understand what his point was. So no, I think I've been blessed with a fake confidence early, but obviously my confidence within Panna and street football now is lies within years of hard work with the ball. So like I have a lot of confidence on the ball, and I also think that it has definitely contributed to my confidence in other things because I've learned that through hard work you can actually achieve something and become great at something. That wasn't set in the cards for me when I started pretty late for like a Panna player. That I could create my own moves and do really well in tournaments and build a community and a culture. That wasn't like I don't think I could have dreamed of that from the beginning. So that has taught me. Yeah, confidence for sure that I apply in other aspects of life.
I like that you mentioned also, early stages maybe there was some fake confidence, and I'm super fucking happy that this doesn't exist now. And I do believe it really doesn't exist because what I love over the last days again, when I saw you introducing people to Panna here in Medellin, was how you talked to them after Pannaing them or something. Like you really explained them a lot. You really took your time to, show this move, that move, and you could see that you're really patient with them and that you're genuinely interested in them basically developing their skill set. This, let's say, side of an educator, was it always there, or did
Yeah.
it also develop after time?
Yeah, no, I think that was always there, and that's evident if you look back in the history of Pannahouse, even because the YouTube channel that we have now, Pannahouse, actually used to be called Street Tutorials. Um, it was like when I was in high school, we had to do voluntary work. That was like one of the things we had to do at my high school. You had to have 150 hours of volunteer work, and I was like, and it has to be creativity, action-based, or service-based. And I was just like, 150 hours, that sounds crazy. What can I do when I can do all three things? I was like, how about I teach these things that I have just learned? So, kind of, I had been playing for like 3 or 4 years, but I wasn't like, I could play, but I wasn't in any expert situation, but it started by me starting to teach people, and I quickly found out that the more I was teaching people, the better I was becoming myself. So just the act of teaching others was bettering my game because I was able to better understand the movements that I was actually doing with the ball, because now I had to put it into words and into movements, and I had to break it down for other people. And that understanding is also something that we've taken with us into building the new generation of street football players, because the open sessions that we have are also based on kids teaching kids. So it's all based on you having to you figure out things for yourself with others, but as soon as that is happening, you tell other people what did you actually find out, and then they can tell it to other people, and that whole process of teaching each other is actually what's making them really, really good street football players.
How did you come up with the idea that it's good that that kids teach kids? Was it your idea, or did somebody else tell you, hey, you gotta do it like this? That's the best way they can learn stuff, or?
No, but I definitely no. So as I said, definitely like through the tutorial things that I did in the beginning, where I was by myself just teaching other people, I was seeing how much that was teaching myself, and then it was more like, because our sessions have always been based on values of street football. So like freedom to choose when and where and how and with whom you kind of play, you know. Um, and just seeing and having this free space and seeing how it's actually helping the kids to teach each other. It was it was organic. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not something we've tried to push on anything. So
All right.
I'm not telling the kids as well. You have to teach XYZ or else you are not going to become a good street football player. I mean, they kind of figure this out themselves along the way, because there's so many learnings to be had. It's not just you know, when you come in such an open session and you have to give a part of yourself, is you're not just learning to become a better street football player, you're learning to become a better human being. There's a lot of life skills to be learned on the pitch when you kind of force without boundaries, without rules, the young ones to engage themselves. You know.
What I like is the word that we used pretty often over the last couple of minutes is organically, and I do believe that in order in order to be able to call something successful, it does have to have some organic aspect. Like it has to develop organically, and I see it with Pannahouse, with a lot of people that I got to know over the last couple of years, with their admiration and love towards Pannahouse. They really simply, there's nothing left except love for the movement. And I do believe it's because it's simply real. There's nothing that you try to force upon people and so on.
And you know, I was like shocked coming to Colombia actually, because so I was in the only time I've been in the Americas apart from the States. So I was in Mexico in 2015, so 8 or 9 years ago, which was an incredible experience. There was about 500 Panna players. You know, I was treated like a superstar there, and I was pretty young at that point. And I knew we were making a difference with Pannahouse, and we were creating new movements and really inspiring a lot of people. But even now, in my 30s, you know, and playing less, building more, being more community oriented, being more actually oriented on the local scene rather than the international scene, I came here to Colombia, and I've received so much love that I couldn't even believe, you know, and people telling me that how it's, you know, inspired their journeys, and it's very, very special because, as I said, you know, that moment where there was something ignited in me, that's what I wanted to do for other people. And being reminded that that's actually happening on the opposite side of the world, that's quite insane, you know, and that it's still influential in that way. Just it's really motivating for me, to be honest. Yeah.
This love that you received, not just now, but over the last decade, let's say like this, was it also the major thing that kept you going? Because as we all know, street football is a fucking hustle. It's not something that you're living like well off over and you can save for the next 30 years or something. Was it a major drive, or what kept you going?
Yeah, it's definitely a major drive. I have this. I believe that the greatest currency there is in the world is relationships. And I've received so many beautiful relationships through the ball. You know, even with people that I can't even communicate with through language. So yes, knowing that I can have a positive effect on people in either a small or a big way is a big motivation for me, because that connects me closer to more people, and thereby makes me a richer human being by my own definition, right?
Beautiful. Man, love it. Do you plan to do that until the rest of your life? Dedicate your life basically to street football? Or do you have sometimes like those moments where like, fuck, I should stick more to IT or whatever?
Yeah. I have doubts every single day. I think most people might have doubts a lot more than they would want to admit. But it's because I always, you know, I'm the type of person that I get too many ideas and I do too many things at one time. You know, I think there's a lot of people that do that out there, and the way I kind of work around it, at least I tell myself, is that, you know, at least we're taking small steps. It doesn't have to be these big steps that I'm hoping for all the time, but we're taking small steps, and it might feel like we're going so slowly, but all we have to do is take a little look, you know, behind our shoulder, and then we'll see how far we actually come, you know. And when you do that, you get reminded that this whole process was worth it. So to answer your question, yeah, I really hope I can do this for as long as possible. Obviously, there's so many parameters that come into question when it comes about that. We all have lives to live, and that requires certain things. But if I can make it happen, I will be working with street football for the rest of my life. Yes.
Something that also Edward told me a few days ago, like when you just soak it in, basically, and realize for a moment how far we've come all together with their movements in the respective countries. Everybody trying to figure something out with street football and then coming together and just seeing a small outcome of this whole week, for example, or 10 days, whatever, gathering 40 plus people from I don't know how
Yeah.
many countries.
Yeah.
And hearing that from Edward's mouth that something like this actually never happened. Obviously, there were international tournaments and so on, but you have to imagine these 40 people paid everything by themselves, right? In order to be together, in order to simply experience street football, street football's finest movement so far, in my opinion, here in Medellin. And then obviously brainstorming all together and then just seeding some new
Yeah.
ideas in their heads.
Yeah, and I think if you're a person right now that's really into street football and you've been listening this far, that means that you're obviously passionate. Make sure to reach out. The more people we have joining our communities, the more people that can identify with it, that want to build something local in their place and connect with everyone else around the world, the greater we can become as a collective. So yeah, it's very beautiful what has happened in this last couple of days, the last couple of weeks, and I hope that that will inspire at least those that are here, but also all those that have followed, the people's journey here, and will continue to follow their journey outside of Medellin as well. Yeah, and I hope that we'll just continue and grow as one big family, as
Yeah.
we should.
I mean, there's no doubt about that this will happen anyways, and hopefully through people like Santiago and Maca from Futto who are inspiring us basically with their slogan, the screen of the unseen, we can discover hidden talents all over the world, because when we just look around, we are kind of connected, right, with the best football players on earth. But then arriving here, you realize, oh, there might be some better players somewhere else in Latin America that we simply didn't see because they don't use social media that much or at all. Who knows? But that makes it kind of an exciting adventure, I believe, like a collective adventure of all of us, simply to discover those people and to bring them together and also to teach them how to build a community. And I do believe that you're there, one of the major guys who can really teach somebody. Obviously, not forcing something on them completely because they should do it organically, or it should happen organically. But here or there, some kind of advice is never a bad thing. However, this leads me almost to an end because the whole reason why we're here is this collective movement that we're now part of, and we named it for some random reason ISFA. When we had a call about that, like almost a year ago, what did you think about it, or what did make you actually be part of it, wanting to be part of it?
Well, I think I've really always had a wish for the worldwide street football community to be connected in like not in a more official sense, but in a just in a in a bigger sense. Like, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's to be more structured or anything else, but just the fact that that there's something everyone can come together around. We've tried to do that in multiple ways. Both within street football and within Panna, and it's really hard. Street football is a sport that's a lot of people that there's a lot of people that love it, but a lot of people who are really good at it and are really into it are also people that don't have that many resources from day to day, which also means that they don't have as much time to put into building something and creating something bigger for themselves within street football. So and when you don't have time to bake the cake, it gets harder to eat the cake as well. So I think I've been trying to build community not just locally at home but on an international level for many years, especially through the World Panna Championships and other projects aligned with that. And it's been a heavy burden because in many cases I've been quite alone with the projects. So the fact that there was other don't want to, but more resourceful people who are really ready to take like some time and doing some putting some blood, sweat, and tears and some work into creating something that's bigger than themselves. That was really motivating and inspiring to me, because I think that's what it's gonna take in order to create something that's great for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. To put their own egos aside in the end, right? Because
Yeah.
we talked about that many times. There was kind of this old school street football movement where
Yeah.
everything was really rough and really raw and really underground.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes taken too seriously. When something happens, you don't talk to this person for I don't know how many months. Whereas, like you mentioned yesterday, I believe, you were always intending to bake the cake together with people so that everybody can actually have a piece out of it.
Yeah, I think Pannahouse was in many ways an anti-movement of the original movement. When we created Pannahouse, it was with the philosophy of everyone being under one roof, and we had this idea that it's really important to share all our knowledge with the next generation, no matter where they're from, because if we don't share our knowledge with the next generation, there is not going to be a next generation, and when you have that gap, it's so much harder to crawl out of the hole, So yeah, but I mean, just to be very clear, it's not because one movement or one way or one ways of doing it is right or wrong. I mean, we're standing on the shoulders of something that's great and amazing, but things always evolve, and that's been like our approach to it. And it wasn't something that, it's not because we wanted to be, we're gonna do something different because we don't like that. It was never like that. It was just a very natural way for us to approach street football, So let's see. There might be a third movement coming up on the other side. There probably already is, to be honest.
I do believe so too. Street football is so diverse. We're never gonna know what's gonna happen. Maybe 3v3 is gonna be nothing special. Maybe there is gonna be, I don't know, 3v3 pan, whatever. Fuck that, man. Even though I was never a Panna player, I never intended to do like real Panna things and so on. I could tell you that from an early stage, when I actually heard about you, who is actually this Kristoffer Liicht from this state somewhere in the north, I was really inspired by how you do stuff, especially Panna invitationals. That was like kind of, I don't know any Panna player around me, but I really followed it, and it was just beautiful what evolved out of it and what is gonna evolve. I don't know. I just want to say like thank you for whatever you have done, for not just for Denmark, Panna, but for the whole street football world. Because once again, just seeing these people interacting with you, regardless of it's like small Colombian kids or the people from Mexico, from Bogota, from any kind of other different country that are really treating you with respect, that speaks a lot about you. And I don't know, I'm just super fucking grateful that I can actually work on something together with you, because in the end we do have the same vision, and that's beautiful. And I don't know. And also, obviously, Vince, the man behind the camera, who is almost falling asleep because it's really late.
Don't drop the camera, bro.
No, it's crazy. I don't have words for this. How beautiful it is that everybody's doing stuff on their own, kind of hustling, but in the end, the North Star is the same, and we kind of head towards it. Obviously, sometimes a bit chaotic, but maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Like Santiago said, also what Medellin actually is, it's a beautiful chaos. Sometimes the street football movement also, it's a beautiful chaos, and let's see where the journey goes. I don't know, man. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think maybe just to end on some advice for people that are out there and just want to start something, and they feel like they can't get started, or we can never get to the level of what Kings of Kleisheim or Pannahouse or Street Kings or Torneo Del Barrio are doing, because I actually get that question a lot. My answer is, don't worry about it, guys. Okay, you can't go from 0 to 100 in one day. So it's about working with what you have, and you might live in a small town and you might be alone, and you might not have anyone to play with, but you got to speak up. You got to get out there with your ball and show your tricks, because I bet you there's another kid around the block that's gonna think that's awesome, and then suddenly you're two people kicking a ball around, and suddenly you're four people kicking a ball around, and then maybe you think it's gonna be fun to make some T-shirts, and suddenly you have a crew, and then maybe it's fun to go into the city every Friday and setting up a Panna court and just playing with the people there, and suddenly you just start just by taking small steps, you're starting to create something that's bigger, maybe without not even realizing it. But it's about taking those small steps. You can never take that one big step and just get there from day one. It doesn't work like that. So don't lose faith. Keep going. Take those small steps, and then one day you'll look over your shoulder and you'll be like, "Holy hell, we did it!" And yeah, that's my advice. My other advice is stay connected. We as street footballers are one big family, and we want everyone to succeed with our common passion, which is the ball. So stay connected. ISFA is here. Jovan is here. Pannahouse is here. We're stay connected. Reach out, and let's keep building this amazing culture that really is a part of changing people's lives. Yeah. Dude, what time is it? 1 a.m. All right.
Muchas gracias.